Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be recapping the French presidential election and looking forward to the parliamentary elections. So let's begin back in 2017 when Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen faced each other the first time. In the run-up to that election, Macron consistently pulled ahead of 60%, while Le Pen barely ever made it over 40% in most polls. Thus, everyone knew that it would be a Macron landslide, a Republican front to stop a far-right extremist. And when the election happened, Le Pen won almost nowhere. However, this time it was different. Fast forward to 2022, where Macron almost never pulled above 60%, and at some points in the campaign, Le Pen was even polling even with him. But this is because there was no Republican front. Massive amounts of abstention, particularly in areas that voted for leftist Jean-Luc Mélenchon, such as in Paris or in the south of France, had higher abstention rates than the west or east of France. Additionally, Le Pen gained almost everywhere, but most astonishingly, she gained in the southwest. The southwest previously was one of the Socialist Party's biggest areas of winning. They racked up landslides there, and presidents such as François Mitterrand or Hollande, the previous French president before Macron, all gathered their votes there. And yet, now Le Pen was winning there. While overall, it is clear that Macron won in big cities and in the west, while Marine Le Pen won in the northeast and the southeast, it's clear that Le Pen can still consider this a win. And she does. And that's because her movement gained nearly 10% more followers. While her first round tally was very similar to that of years ago in 2017, there was now a chance to squeeze some votes. Squeezing votes is where a centrist candidate or someone closer to the center squeezes votes from an area more radical than them. In this case, it was Eric Zemmour. While in 2017, Le Pen, as the furthest right major candidate in the race, received around slightly over 20% of the vote, this time she was not the furthest right and still received over 20% of the vote. This is because Eric Zemmour, a far-right extremist who is somehow even further right than Le Pen, managed to achieve 7% of the vote. And it is clear that at least 80% of Zemmour's voters chose Le Pen in the second round. So Le Pen can consider this a win. But now we have to look towards the supposed third round of the presidential elections. But there is no third round. Macron's already won. However, both Le Pen and leftist Jean-Luc Mélenchon are calling the upcoming parliamentary elections a third round. This is because both sides, the far right and the far left, see a chance for victory. So who are these parties and what do they plan to do? Let's start from the left. On the left, we have the French Communist Party, La France Insoumise, Socialist Party, the Greens, and the Radical Party of the left. Out of these, there are arguably three major players, and all three fielded presidential candidates. First, we have La France Insoumise, which was that party that was led by Jean-Luc Mélenchon. It advocates for democratic socialism and is on the left wing to the far left of the political spectrum. It is a new party that was founded out of the left wing of the Socialist Party and has made rapid gains in recent years. Jean-Luc Mélenchon plans to have youth voters and workers turn out, and maybe he could form some sort of parliamentary alliance with the other left-wing parties. Further to the right, on the left, is the Socialist Party. The Socialist Party advocates for social democracy and is generally considered to be center-left. The Socialist Party used to be one of France's two major parties, along with Les Républicains. However, in recent years, it has collapsed. The unpopular presidency of François Hollande caused them to dip to 8% in the last presidential elections, culminating in them selling off their old headquarters. And now, in the most recent elections in 2022, their presidential candidate didn't even achieve over 2%. So the Socialist Party seems to be done, or is it? Only time will tell, but it seems that the Socialist Party is not going to be a major force on the French scene for much longer, unless there was some sort of turnaround. Moving even further to the right on the left is the Europe Ecology, the Greens group. The Greens, of course, as their name, practice green politics and are generally considered to be center-left. Their presidential candidate, Yannick Jadot, narrowly missed the 5% mark, which would allow reimbursements and the full paying back of all money used in the French presidential election. However, he did not pass this, thus the Greens suffered a defeat at the elections. And finally, we have the Radical Party of the Left. The Radical Party of the Left is sort of a satellite party. They're technically their own party, but they do not compete. They are the furthest on the right of the left and advocate for social liberalism. Now, you may have noticed I exclude the French Communist Party. And this is because it is very, very unlikely that the French Communist Party will be included in any government. But why? Well, this is because the left wing of the French political system is nowhere near any majority. They cannot hope to get into the prime minister seat unless they were to form some sort of coalition with centrist Macron. And this would definitely involve no French Communist Party. Moving towards the center, we find a new group. We find a bunch of different parties all united under the Ensemble Citizens Group. They have parties such as En Commune, which practices center-left green politics, the Radical Party, the Democratic Movement, or Modem, led by François Bayrou, and La République En Marche. These parties generally range from center-left to center-right. An intriguing addition to this group is Volt France. Volt France is the only one of the centrist parties that is not part of Ensemble Citizens. And this is because Volt France advocates for a federal Europe, something that others, such as the Territory of Progress Party, oppose. But for the most part, it seems this group is going to win the presidential elections, or parliamentary elections. This is because following Macron's victory, usually there is an uptick in that party's support after a presidential victory. Moving to the center right, we find three different groups leading the pack. We have the centrist, the Union of Democrats and Independents, and the Republicans. All of these are considered to be center-right. Additionally, the old party, Les Républicains, seems to be losing its luster. Their presidential candidate, Valérie Pécresse, also, just like Yannick Jadot of the Greens, had expected to pass the 5% margin, and maybe even come in fourth place, at one point in the campaign polling in second. However, a collapse in the latter half of the campaign caused their party and Valérie Pécresse to dip below the 5% margin and lose their financial access to what they had spent. Thus, it seems that Les Republicans are also destined for a loss at the parliamentary elections. They are part of the most likely coalition along with Macron. A likely center-right coalition would see Macron leading his centrist Ensemble Citizens parties with the center-right. This would be an establishment mostly fiscally liberal and socially liberal bloc. However, of course, there are going to be intra-party discussions about this. And finally, all the way on the right, we see three parties: Debout la France, the National Rally, and Reconquest. Reconquest, as mentioned previously, is led by the far-right Eric Zemmour. They are likely to form some sort of parliamentary bloc with National Rally and Debout la France because all of them stand for national conservatism. However, there are differing amounts. The DLF is more focused on anti-immigration, while National Rally has begun to work in some populist economics. Thus, there are some real differences here, but for the most part, it seems that they'll form a parliamentary bloc together. So, let's head over to the most recent polls. The most recent polls show that, in contrast to the last parliamentary elections in 2017, there is going to be a large uptick in both the far left and the far right. Previously, the centrist and center-right blocs had won 350 and 130 seats respectively, but now they are projected to combined win around 350 seats. Similarly, on the far right, they had combined won 10 seats, but now they are projected to win 130 seats. This is actually the same amount that the center-right bloc previously won. This is because much of the center-right has joined the far right, and the center has bled voters to both the left and the center-right, causing the center ground of French politics itself to shift to the right. Finally, we move over to the left. On the left, there is a quick race between the center-left of the socialists and the left-wing Left France Insoumise over who will lead the left bloc. It seems that Left France Insoumise will come out on top, but then again, that was thought to be the case last time. Summarizing, overall, in terms of polling, if you combine all the left parties together, they will have 33%. If you combine the center and the center-right together, they will have 33%. And if you combine the far right together, they will have 31%. Thus, it is clear who is winning. While last time, over 53% of people in France, voters, chose the center and center-right blocs, now they have collapsed to 33%, while the far right is surging. Additionally, you could see that it is now a three-way system in France. You have the left, probably led by Left France Insoumise, the center or center-right, led by Emmanuel Macron's party, and you have the far right, led by the Front National. So there you have it. That's my take on the French presidential elections and the upcoming parliamentary elections. Feel free to subscribe and like, please do, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.